My name is Fouad, and my supervisor is Dr. Pamela. So I'm going to speak in general about e-government implementation because I'm still not sure about the title. I have a title, but still we have to discuss it. So when I started my PhD, I started to look at like some technical aspects, how to catalog, how to archive, one-way communication, two-way communications, and all this because I'm Palestinian, and if I want to renew my passport, sometimes it might take 1 year. And I thought that, oh, I'm in England, so I can solve this issue. We are in a very developed country, so we can have a system or like any software where can people like just log in and apply for their passports, and then they can get it by post or something, because it's really difficult. We have to ask somebody in Ramallah city to represent you, and they have this person. They have to go to like the government and ask them to produce this like passport or any other legal documents. And then I started to search about what the best models, the leading models. Estonia, it's a very good country. UK, United Kingdom, Lee and Lay model, Moon model, like different models. But at one point, I noticed that it's like there is something else that I should like look at it as well, which are like many other factors, like organizational one, culture one, because I found that from the literature, like in different countries, there's different aspects affecting the e-government implementations, and what applies in UK doesn't necessarily apply in Africa or in Palestine or in Jordan. And then I started to think, oh, maybe I can like develop a model about e-government implementation in developing countries. And after like months of like searching about how to develop e-government, how to implement e-government in developing countries, as well, I found that there's like a lot of differences between one developed country and another. What applies in Brazil, for example, doesn't apply in the Gulf. Doesn't apply in Palestine. Even there is like a lot of differences between like the Gulf countries and Palestine in terms of the culture and other things. So from the literature, I found like some very good papers suggest that there is like shortages about how to implement e-government in like complex political environment. Because in complex political, the need of e-government is different. Here, people still can go to the government and apply or by post or whatever, but for the case of Palestine, it's like necessity. We need like this tool. It's like something that we have to have in order to be able to communicate with our government, because without this online tool, it will be really difficult to communicate with the Palestinian government. And here from the literature, I found that most of the e-government implementations in the developing countries, they failed. Why the reason? Because there's a lot of like reasons, but the major one was because they all follow the developed countries. That's why they all usually they speak about Estonia, the United Kingdom, America. This is what I found in the literature. So that's why I found there is like a lack of research that like study the different challenges that face when try to implement e-government in like a complex political environment. I'm not sure if this is the right explanation, but when what I meant from this, like unusual like situations where there is a need for this like these systems. There is a need like to use these systems in order to communicate with the government. So I found there is little qualitative studies. I didn't find that much like studies about how to implement e-government in like very complex political environment or similar like Palestine. So I have decided to go for this topic, how any government service can be successfully implemented within complex political environment. But e-government still very broad. We have to be more specific because the PhD we have only like a few years to finish it. So, so we cannot discuss everything within e-government. You know, e-government project is something really huge. So that's why I was thinking whether my country can be the case study where I can use in order to fill in this gap in knowledge. And I have chosen the e-voting as a service because this is one of the main need of something that we are in Palestine desperate for it. That because we want to elect a new leadership, because if we speak about the head of the Palestine parliament, he is 92 years old or something. So I'm going to speak now about the story of Palestine of this. There's two different stories in Palestine. The government story. One day here in London University, one of the Palestinian officials told me that he found like a professor in America, and that professor told him that Palestine cannot use e-voting systems because will not be like applicable for the case of Palestine. So one phone call was like leaded us to decide that we cannot use e-voting. But in 2011, there's an organization based here in the United Kingdom. The head of this organization called Dr. Carmen Nabilsi. She's a professor at Oxford University. She recruited some people. She got a fund from the European Union, and she recruited like people, and they implemented a system to online register Palestinian the voters. And she announced that this is like secured, and people can now start to use this system to register themselves in order to be able to vote in in the future general elections. But actually the Palestinian Authority respond to this by saying no, Palestinians will not trust e-democracy or will not trust technology in order to practice democracy. So that's why I have decided to conduct like a pilot study, because we have two different claims. So I found in the pilot study that nearly 41 of the Palestinians will accept, and they are willing to use like any sort of technology in order to practice democracy. And even 24 strongly agree about this. So the majority said that they are happy and they are going to use it if there's something like this going to be available for them. In terms of trust, the result was a bit less, like 38%. They agree that they are going to trust. 13, they said they are strongly agree that they will trust the system and there's no problem with the system. And after this pilot study, I decided to go for like interpretive research to gain like insights and to gain like more information about the reality and what the main factors that affecting or blocking this implementation, because Palestine started e-government initiative, I think, at 2001, and European Union, for example, donated, I don't know how many millions, but 10 of millions of money for this project, but the outcome is up to now is like absolutely nothing. We don't feel like there's even any systems or any we cannot communicate with the government. There is like very basic website. That's why I designed I decided to go for grounded theory, because I found nothing in the literature suggests how to implement e-voting systems in a complex political environment, that's why I decided to go from bottom to up. So I go to the field, I gather some information, and then analyze them, and that's why I conducted 19 in-depth interviews and analyzed them by in vivo. And here I have some results. I found the main themes, which are the political factor, the capability, the trust, the acceptance. For the case of Palestine, we don't have any problem with the acceptance or trust or capability. In terms of capability, most of the people who I interviewed, they said we are capable, and we know how to protect the system. There's like good engineers in Palestine. By the way, Palestine, in terms of literacy, for example, ranked #1. It's like in that region, 98% of Palestinians, according to the United Nations, can read and write. So they don't have even the access of the internet, and this is because of the Israel as well, because Israel has a very good IT sector. The trust, I found that people will trust as long as they are, as long as they are going to trust the people who behind the system. I mean, the people who are going to implement the system and who's going to test the system, who's going to be responsible for the system. If they are trusting these people, they are going to trust the system. The acceptance, I found that they have absolutely no problem to use the system. But the political factor, here we have like a problem about the political factor, which is like vary from many, like one thing to another. The main problem, which is the authority. So the leadership of Palestine, they are blocking this implementation or resist this implementation because they always feel that they have power in their hands, and if they are going to allow Palestinians to practice like this online voting, they definitely are going to lose this like authority. So that's why they always try to block any implementation and try to stop any implementation. Even one of the people who I interviewed, which is the head of e-government project, he said, I have 19 of services ready. I can put them online tomorrow morning. 9 o'clock, you can find them online. But actually, the guy who's sitting upstairs, he's not accepting he's not accepting for me to put them online. So this is where I am right now. So we have these main themes affecting the implementation of e-voting in Palestine. So now I'm going to gather like another like round of data. I'm going to interview some other like people from the same 19 interviews and some other as well, in order like to understand the relationship between these main themes, in order to be able to build a theory from ground. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.